Going live.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll call the Redevelopment Commission meeting for March 18th to order. Take a roll call first, David, on a quorum.
Joe Plankis,
Here?
John Dart,
Here.
Brian Tomomichael,
Here.
Larry Kemper,
Here.
Brian Pulowski. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. There is one change to the agenda. Under the financial matters, the clerk treasurer's report will be moved out to the March meeting since clerk treasurer is remotely in training.
It will move to the April meeting.
To the April meeting, it'll be April 15th.
Yes.
Okay, meantime, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first order of business is approval of the minutes for the meeting of February 20th. Are there any changes or adjustments to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, if looking for a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brian Tomomichael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Brian. The other Brian. Sorry. That's all right. David, if you'll take the call, please. Take the roll, please.
Joe Pulowski. Sorry. Joe
Here.
Plankis. John Dart.
Yes.
Brian Tomomichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper.
Yes.
Brian Pulowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda are financial matters. Next item here will be approval of claims. Does anyone have any questions or comments on claims? Okay, hearing none, I'm open for a motion for approval for payment of claims.
Motion to approve?
Okay, by Larry Kemper?
It was John.
Oh,
Darn.
John.
But I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. David, if you would, take roll call?
Joe Plankis,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Brian Tomomichael,
Yes.
Larry Kemper,
Yes.
Brian Pulowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, Matt Trinian.
Good evening, Commission. As stated, Matt Trinian, representing Grant Park this evening. Before you this evening is the list of agreements that are up for ratification this month. Sent these out a little over a week ago. Hadn't received any questions, but did want to make sure that I made comment that I included a blank or a sample contract with the edits that we had talked about dating back a handful of weeks now. It's important to note that that new agreement is now in cycle. We still may have some old agreements out there, but everything, I guess to put a bow on it, everything that was in question was approved by CAM. So there's nothing bad about the old agreements. We've just updated with some language moving forward. So included that in there for your review and oversight, but most of this is just standard use agreements, a few addendums, and a sponsorship agreement. But happy to take any questions you have and go from there.
Okay, any questions
Matt,
for?
Matt, this is John Dart. What is the criteria for bringing on sponsors? I mean, is it just looking for dollars, or is it first, maybe considering a local business in Westfield that's supporting Westfield? do you have exclusive agreements? In other words, only so many restaurants or other sponsors? What's kind of the criteria?
Yeah, so based on level of interest would denote how we evaluate that. Current day, Legacy Sports Group manages the sponsorship, I guess, portal, for lack of a better term, on our behalf. But all that comes down to is the level of interest that provider would have in sponsoring, what kind of assets they're looking at. When it comes to exclusivity, it's a pretty rare list, but all that said, we do have some exclusive agreements. A lot of it is, naturally just kind of comes in via our email portal, allows us to be open. Candidly, we probably should do a better job of being forward with a lot of these new companies coming to Westfield and in the marketplace. But all that said, pretty significant portal still, as you'll see in our year-end report here coming up here shortly. But that's, I guess, long-winded answer there, but severe process that William and his team goes through and then presents to me when it gets to the point. There's a lot that don't get to my desk, just doesn't make sense to the park. But the ones that do hit my desk are the ones that are serious and have been well vetted by William and his team with Legacy Sports Group.
Okay. Good question, John. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions for Matt on this issue before we request a motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll open for a motion for approval of Grant Park agreements.
Motion approved.
Brian Pawlowski got a motion for approval.
Second.
Brian Michael is a second. David, please take the roll.
Joe Plankis,
Yes?
John Dart,
Yes.
Brian Michael,
Yes.
Larry Kemper,
Yes.
Brian Pulaski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Matt, why don't you give us our year-end report on Grant Park?
Absolutely, and thank you for the approval there on the ratification. This report comes a little delayed given some travels that I had last month. Thank you for being patient with me as we get back. But this is a 2023 fourth quarter review and then a year-over-year kind of year-end report as well for the campus. Traditionally, this report is given by myself, William Knox from Legacy Sports Group's perspective, and Blake Hibbler. William is out on travel this evening, so I will do my best to cover his portion of this presentation, and Blake will join me here shortly from the bullpen perspective. As we look at Q4, you can see the numbers here listed from an athletes, visitors, and visits perspective. You'll see some trends in a later graph here, but overall, we're really pleased with the year-end data surpassing all of 2022's marks. I think when you look at us year over year, ironically, 2021 was probably our highest year to date when it comes to visitation. We had a lot more events that relocated here from the East Coast, kind of coming out of COVID, and saw a lot of visitation, a lot of people working from home, working remotely, and those people came with their families in 2021. We've leveled off when it comes to the visitor visits count with an upward trajectory, but not as severe as what we saw from 19 back to 21 as we rebounded. But really happy with these numbers. We're continuing to evaluate new events to see how we can increase the numbers here and continue to bring visitation, not only Grant Park, but City of Westfield. From a financial perspective, important to note our Q4 revenues and expenses. One of the primary reasons, if you look at that 45% decrease from 22, we had a lot of capital that was invested into the campus at the latter half of 22. So this is a 22 Q4 versus a 23 Q4 review. So a lot of the I guess discrepancy between 22 and 23 there really comes down to some larger capital projects that were done at the latter half of 22. The 23 year-end report, when it comes to the financials, shows the $6.7 million in revenues, little over $4.9 million in expenses. The investment is important to note that we took $3 million of cash out of our account, worked with the clerk treasurer's office to invest that, and as of the end of January, that $3 million was able to earn a little over $100,000 in investment dollars. So that number is closer to 3.1, almost 3.2 current day. So just wanted to denote that. And then our capital, we had a little over $1.8 million into a capital build out of replacing synthetic turf F2 through F5 in 2023. So really like to call that out to denote these different areas that we utilized cash in 2023. As we look at department updates, when we talk about department updates, really break down our operation into these 6 major areas. So from an administration perspective, I'm not going to read all these, but just highlight a few. From an administration perspective, we're really proud to release the Grant Park documentary, We Field Champions, in partnership with Cameron Sprinkle, and huge team effort to get that pulled together last year. It was shown towards the end of last year. We're currently in the process of getting that up and out there to basically allow it to be visible to anybody that has access to a website. So we're in that process current day. From a visitor experience perspective, important to note that field conditions still maintain to be high satisfaction. And then want to call your attention to the parking ratings being really low, specifically with Lot J as being a problem area. And if you've visited Grand Park, you've known and felt that pain in Lot J. Reason why I point that out is we're currently in a process of asphalting that gravel gravel pad that was created. So we'll have a solid asphalt surface here before too long. Goal is to have that done by early May so that we have it for the duration of our busy season for 2024. From a grounds perspective, love pointing out that we've painted over 1,000 individual fields in 2023. A lot of help to our autonomous painters that do a lot of the work for ourselves, and then did a lot of final prep. I mean, a lot of this is just getting ready for the winter dormancy period. Funny to report now that we're now coming out of that. So all in timing. Client services, we did launch our first sporting good drive with a slew of beneficiaries. Really had a lot of success there. Really proud of Rachel and Anna and their team for pulling that together and having that benefit a lot of local community groups to give back. And then we worked heavily, and this is more on the operations side, so kind of bouncing over from facilities. I'll come back to them, but had a lot of work towards the end of 2023 with the implementation of the pickleball courts in the event center. So some of the trends you'll see in a little bit relate to more visitation in Q4, and a lot of that was because we filled a dead space. Naturally, our calendar previously was kind of bare towards the end of December, and we were able to find this pickleball efforts, partnering with Edrock, or well, not Edrock, but Birch Dalton with the Racket Center, and putting the pickleball courts down. Bullpen helped tremendously from an operations perspective, but really exciting to have that down and bring new visitors to the campus and utilize what would traditionally have been a more dead period of our schedule. And then going to facilities, really proud of this. Steve Helder has done a great job working with Shamrock Connections program with the schools to bring students in that have some learning or physical capability or disabilities, and are really showing them how valuable they can be at our campus. And so we've had a few students that have done really great. We've loved having them out there, and we're excited about that program. So that's our primary updates for Grand Park. I'm going to roll into Legacy Sports Group updates, and I guess just as a clarifying point, traditionally William would provide these, and I think a secondary point would be that sometimes the way that they categorize some statistics would differ than the way we do, and I'll explain what that looks like here shortly. So you see from the trends, this is just for the field sports and event center side of things. You look at athletes, visitors, and visits, you can see that upward trajectory, specifically with Q4 here. I think a lot of this comes from the help of that filling of dead space in the event center, as noted a little bit ago. But encouraged by this trend, and again, our common goal is to continue to drive visitation of the park. So seeing these trends are favorable for us. From a year-to-date perspective, kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but 19 from the field sports perspective, really high. significant drop in 20, and then 21, 22, and then starting to see some growth back in 23. So just wanted to point that out, and again, call out that this is just for the field sports and events center side of things. This is one of those areas that I would just kind of draw an asterisk on when it comes to how we're denoting these dollars. These are executed agreements that were executed in Q4, but that does not mean these dollars came in Q4. So those will be coming in over a payment schedule. This is just the total sum of contracts that were executed in Q4. So we moved to the 23 year end. As you can see, really close to $3.5 million of total rental revenue from Legacy's team, and you can see it broken out by quarter below. But again, this is contracted in 23. In 23, but it may not happen until 24. So those funds may not come in until 24 or beyond. So just important to note that. A level of service that Legacy Sports Group performs on our behalf is they run our social media. So for Q4, you can see some of the statistics from a Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn approach. And then here below is the year-to-date for all of 2023. So pretty good impact. Again, I think this is an area that as we continue to grow, we have a lot of opportunity here. But overall, great numbers to showcase. From a sponsorship perspective, Legacy is reporting about a little over $200,000 in sponsorship revenue. This is very similar to what we were talking about with contracts from a use perspective. These dollars don't all come in during these quarters, but we'll have kind of a payment schedule that'll align. But we're seeing a lot of this. I think with the contracts that we've executed already in 24, we're going to see this number grow significantly. But still excited to at least report this and excited about the growth opportunities as we move through 24. Overarching list for the 2023 sponsors, a lot of names that you may see and notice with a lot of Westfield ties to a lot of these companies, organizations. Next is 2023 marquee events. This is, again, field sports and event center specific. Quite an extensive list of major events in 2023. This isn't all we did, but this is a good feel for our major events that we were able to bring in and execute in 2023. So really proud of the team, but again, kind of this common goal of looking and striving to do more as we move forward. With all that said, I'm going to flip it to Blake and let him drive the bus
Matt,
here.
Before we do that, one of the things you and I have talked about in the past is client satisfaction.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So if you can delve into that a little bit.
I can hit on that, and then I think after that, we'll let Blake finish, and then we'll do questions at the end. But from a client satisfaction perspective, I appreciate you bringing that up. As a part of our regular business operation, right, we bring in the client, we get them to the contract perspective from our business development side. Client services, Rachel works heavily with each client to ensure that we have a good feel for what they need on site, what we can help them with, all the information we need to operate efficiently. Flips it over to our operations team. Operations team does a great job of executing those agreements. And then post-event, Rachel works to schedule a post-event call with all those clients to work through what went well, what didn't, how can we improve. And that's an intentional call that she makes with all of those clients, really recapping each event. And so from a visitor or client satisfaction perspective, we're getting that firsthand from them immediately following the event within about a 2-week span to ensure that it's still fresh in their head. Some other satisfaction survey type things is we have a general visitor satisfaction survey found on our website, and several QR codes are posted throughout the facility to give feedback. And then we do have another survey that we do frequently to help drive some of the data and numbers that we have when it comes to event demographics. So think how many kids were on each team, how many teams were there, how many athletes, how many parents came, what ages we were supporting within that event. So those are kind of the main survey or I guess detail follow-up items for each event. So with all that said, I'm going to flip it to Blake, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions at the end.
First, I want to thank Blake for running like crazy to get here from the airport, because I'm sure you had a late flight.
I got to hang out with one of our special friends from Westfield all day. So, but Blake Hibbler, Bullpen Ventures, for those that don't know me, thank you for having me. I'm going to talk a little bit just because we are new. I'm going to talk, or most of you are new and have no real relationship with us. I want to talk the differences between the baseball diamond side versus the soccer rectangle side. So on our side, we run all of our events. So when we provide a list of every event that takes place at Grand Park, they're all ours. So the names are very irrelevant sometimes. We could call it the Shamrock Classic versus the Early Bird, and it means nothing to you. And it means really not a lot to our teams either. They're coming to Grand Park. They're coming to bullpen tournaments. We own probably 98% of the events that take place on the diamond side. So we do all the booking, we do all the marketing, we do all the selling. We track all the hotels. We do everything on behalf of the city. So when we started this, that was always the goal. We were at a 50-50 rental versus own when we first started. We've now transitioned much closer to 98, and that's just on the big events. Obviously, WISI takes up a considerable amount of practice times. We don't count that in as our own programming, and we look at the practice rentals as completely separate than the events. So when Matt presents the top events and things like that, ours are like the exact same since 2014. They just take place on different weekends. So I don't have a huge list. I will say, our amateur baseball championships is the second largest national series in the country. That was built here. It's been a 3 or 4 time a winner on economic impact. We would have a really hard time picking that up and going to another city because it was built for Westfield very specifically and built for Grand Park. So you'll see a significant difference in the two sides. Looking back though on Q4, our teams were up. I'm controlling this, aren't I? Our teams are up. Our games are up. Our athletes, visitors, everything was up. The big thing we started pointing out is how many visitors per team. This is the only number that's trending down still for us. So while we took more teams, so you won't see an impact on the total count of visitors, our gate revenue, which you get a percentage of, our hotel revenue, you keep all of, our apparel revenues, we're all up. Which is a huge positive. We have more people coming from out of state. We've got a higher gate dollar being attached to that. That includes all the city of Westfield residents getting in free to all baseball activities. The high school also gets the facility for free. It's one thing that we kind of struggled to get through. The high school charges a gate for all their high school baseball and softball games. That is not us charging the gate. Sometimes you end up with stuff on your desk about that. Why am I getting charged to go to a Grand Park bullpen? That's an agreement between us and the school. The school relies heavily on that gate money to fund umpires. That is not us charging that. That is strictly the school. So if you do hear something along those lines, please help us debunk that rumor. But flipping down to, with our software, we track everything from where everybody eats, where they start, where they go. As you can tell through Q4, this is kind of where everybody ate. There's no real surprises here on this list. The only thing that is kind of a concern to me, we have not been able to tackle the Westfield downtown. We're going to be more aggressive this year, making sure our customer understands what kind of food options we have down there. When we've talked to our customers, there is a parking concern that you're very aware of, but this has become a very useful thing for us to really hit home with our local restaurants and things like that. And clearly, everybody's eating in Westfield, which is a good thing. Favorite places to stay, our top 2 are Westfield, obviously closest to the park. If you saw this throughout the year, this JW is pretty random. I'm not real sure how they ended up in there, but the rest of it is a pretty common list. Renaissance and Sheridan in Indianapolis give us a large block of room, so that's never a shock to see those 2 on this list, and that bounces around between quarters. But the Wyndham and the Spring Hill, and usually the Hampton are 1, 2, and 3. This is just where our visitors came from in Q4, pretty standard list. Chicago, Cincinnati, Indianapolis are our driving forces. And then just to talk on Q4 and Q1 a little bit as we begin the transition into the next phase of Grand Park, we were able to successfully operate the pickleball, as Matt mentioned. In Q4, we were the ones that oversaw the bookings, made sure Court rentals went well, smooth, things like that. Just kind of oversaw the operations of that. We also worked hand in hand with the volleyball tournament in Q1, making sure the parking went a lot better. I think Matt can attest our customer service was tremendously better that weekend than what we had when we outsourced it. It was both our staffs working, in unison to make sure that we accomplished that. The light project that you helped fund, those are vertical now. 6 and 8 are on. We'll have 7 and 9 on very shortly. So we have 4 new fields. For those of you who are unaware, that was a group between Hamilton County, ourselves contributing, the escrow fund contributing, and Grand Park contributing to put together four additional fields with lights that was recommended by the Hunden Group as one of the major places to put money into Grand Park to expand our visitor counts. With that being said, our sales season is now complete for 24. We were able to sell out those additional teams on 17 of the 18 weekends that we've had so far. So we've got one weekend, that's Easter weekend. We could not hit our numbers there. But beyond that, we've been able to, if you get out there in the summer, we're going to be oversold again and trying to find ways to expand the park. So the light project went really well. Those are, like I said, those next 2 fields will get lit up here in the next couple of days if they weren't lit today. And we turfed 1 and 4 as well. During Q4, Q1. So that's paid out of our escrow fund. So we worked together to get that done. We pushed that back 1 year from the original schedule due to supply and cost of materials. So we were able to bring the price down about $75,000 by pushing it back 1 year. So, we're really excited for, what's to come. Obviously, we got a lot on our plate going forward with Grand Park, but on behalf of Bullpen Tournaments, everything's going really well, and we look forward to a successful 24.
Blake, before you leave, maybe I've got a couple questions for you. What are you looking at for any capital for the next, and I know this is obviously with the RFP, there's a lot of things going on, but what's your general outlook on what you're going to need to do in capital for next couple of years?
Most of our capital needs are repairs, painting. Our common theme, if you go out there now, you're seeing trusses go up at every entry point. And we're going to add signage. We're trying to improve the fan experience. So a lot of our we've prided ourselves on being the best on-field provider. And that was our first decade's goal, was to be the best baseball, softball site. As we flip into Grand Park 2.0, it's really important for us to improve our fan experience. So we're working hard, and a lot of our capital is going into fan improvements. So we're evaluating some bleacher needs, and this isn't things that we're going to come to the escrow necessarily and ask for. We've also taken and switched our apparel company to provide a much better experience for our guests. We just got done with that contract. So last weekend was our first weekend. You're going to see a significant improvement in the apparel. But from a capital standpoint, it's going to be we got to redo these fences. We've got to paint the facility. We've got to clean up. We've been doing a pretty regular maintenance. It's not a yearly or even monthly maintenance, but it's a deep power cleaning of the brick. It's a deep power clean of all the concrete out there. It's getting companies out there that pretty heavy machinery. We're still working with the city on trying to get parking lot J, which he mentioned earlier. That's our number one pain point, is parking lot J. So hopefully getting that paved. I've had a cheeseburger thrown at me by somebody, and so is my staff. So we're really excited to maybe not have people down there getting food thrown at them. So we're excited for that to get done. That's our number one major capital. We don't see our side having any escrow requests coming in 24. If we do, they're going to be very small. It's going to be a lot of maintenance on our end.
Okay, and since we do have 4 new members here, like maybe you can just cover in general overview the escrow and how you guys handle that in regards to Grand Park.
So we have our own capital. We look at that escrow that is how we manage inside the Diamonds. It was designed to be a turf and then some kind of escrow fund. So we put $285,000 in at the end of the year, every year, that sits in one of your accounts. I think that balance right now is, I may be wrong, but it's around $1 million, somewhere around $1 million, I believe. So that's sitting there for us to go replace turf. So when it was originally designed, we thought we were going to do full synthetic replacements. And after being out there, we did not have to replace the outfields at the 10-year mark, which is where we're at today. So we've had Moats and AstroTurf both evaluate those outfields independently, and both have given us the same feedback. At some point, those are going to break down. They just don't know when those fibers will actually break down to where we'll have to replace. If you compare it to a soccer field, there's constant running. If you look at where outfielders stand, they stand in the same spots. We have 3 very focused areas where we're going to have to improve the turf, but we don't know how long that's going to be. So we've been able to back off a little bit and use some of that money to add trees, to do the light project that we did this year. Other ways to improve the park, improve guest experience, improve things like that. So that's typically how it happens. Typically in Q3, if we do feel like there's a need, we'll come to you, present our plan. We have a 10-year CapEx plan, so we're happy to provide that at that time. Each year, we're kind of updating that with new pricing, improvements, and things like that. So that's how our escrow fund has worked typically, and I don't envision that changing much. So.
Okay, good. Any questions for Blake before we turn it back to Matt? Okay, thank you very much, Blake.
I appreciate
it.
Yeah, one comment there about Lot J. I think we're excited to find out that our engineering department has been critical in helping with that project. And during a recent site visit, they told us that we were actually going to gain spots in Lot J. And the fear was by paving, we'd lose spots. But we think we're going to be able to gain spots there, which will certainly enhance the visitor experience. So really excited about that project.
Okay,
Yeah.
any questions for Matt?
I got a question for you, Matt, about sponsorship.
Yeah.
So you said Legacy manages that. Does that cover everything at Grand Park, or does like Bullpen do their own sponsorships as well?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's primarily just Legacy doing the whole campus. There is some collaboration, significant collaboration taking place, but I guess the barrier there is that Bullpen is able to do things from an event perspective, but from a facility perspective, it's where it differs a little bit. But all things considered, a lot of collaboration going on as we move forward.
So I think my only statement would be looking at the 200. So off of one high school football field,
yeah.
I pull about 85% of that every year.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's a ton of room of opportunity there to expand that.
Absolutely, agreed. Mr. Gilbert shared that on the campaign trail regularly, and certainly appreciate those comments. But yes, totally understand.
And then the nicety, really appreciate what you guys are doing with Shamrock Connections Group. I think a lot of people don't realize we have a smaller group of about 18 to 22-year-olds that have disabilities that are looking for work placements. So appreciate your work with that.
It's been awesome. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Brian. Any other questions for Matt? Okay, Matt, thank you for the year-end report. Very good. You guys doing a great job out there. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you all.
Very much. Janelle, Executive Director report. Before we go further, if there is anyone in the audience that is here for the Advisory Plan Commission, that group is meeting at City Services. They have a workshop going on. So if you're here for the APC, you need to go to the other building at 171st Street.
All right, well, I had a PowerPoint, but it does not seem to be loading here. Hold on. Oh, here we go.
Director Fairman, while
Yes.
you're looking for that, this is Marla Ayler calling in from Plainfield. Good
Hello.
evening, and I'm
Good evening.
sorry to interrupt your meeting. Thank you. I just wanted to let you know I was calling in only because I had a concern. I'm thrilled that you're moving my presentation to the next meeting. However, I wanted to point out that it's my understanding I'm statutorily required to make sure you receive a treasurer's report prior to April 1st, whereas a separate report must be prepared on behalf of the RDC and presented by April 15th. So I just wanted to be clear that my goal and effort to make sure those items were on your agenda was to meet my statutory requirement.
Thank you. We appreciate that greatly and look forward to your presentation next month. Thank you, Marla.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Marla.
You guys have a great evening. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, because we've had a pretty long meeting already here, I'm going to probably do a brief version of this today, and we may dive a little bit more into some details in future meetings. There we go. Just wanted to give you an update on some of the strategies the Economic Development Department is looking at as we are moving into the second quarter of 2024. We're really focusing on redevelopment special study areas for 3 key areas, one being downtown. As you all probably are aware, MKSK had done a study of the southwest quadrant of downtown for Downtown Westfield Association in 2023. And we're starting to move forward with some negotiations on developments in that area and are now entertaining proposals for planning for the other 3 quadrants of downtown. We're also doing some studies of the Grand Park area. As Matt Trinian had mentioned earlier, there is a Hunden study that we've been reviewing, still in draft phase, that gives us suggestions of great ways that we can improve the future development area surrounding Grand Park. And then we're also focused on trail-oriented developments, specifically along the Monon and the Midland Trace. I'm not going to go into specific drivers of economic development. You guys can all read. It's really just a reminder of those things that are important to our economy and to the quality of life here in Westfield. And then our focus on key corridors. Obviously, we have our highways that are keys for us from a vehicular standpoint, US 31 and State Road 32, but then we also have pedestrian connectivity with the trails and really focusing on the Monon Trail, the Midland Trace, and then making sure that we have community connectivity to hospitality, particularly surrounding Grand Park. 5 of the key strategies that we're implementing for downtown Westfield, as I mentioned, expanding the current MKSK plan to include the other 3 quadrants. As also was mentioned earlier in this meeting today, we have a significant need for public parking to be provided to support the community events that are happening in and around Grand Junction Plaza in downtown. And we'll be focusing on connectivity to Park Street with all of our popular restaurants in that area, as well as the under development Grand Millennium District, which is immediately south of the library and is currently under construction with a medical office building. We'll be focused on walkable communities and establishing neighborhoods that really have a central business district that balance the office, residential, retail, and other housing options that build our community. Grand Park, I think we've talked quite a bit about that already today, so focusing specifically on the development aspect of this. We will be focusing on attracting development opportunities that are hospitality driven. We have recognized that we need more family entertainment in the area, more services that support not only our local community, but also the people who are visiting Grand Park. Significant downtime in between games during their tournament seasons, and we want to make sure that they are enjoying Westfield and they are supporting our local businesses while they are visiting. Trail-oriented development. As I mentioned previously, focusing on a couple of key areas in the trail areas. I do have a couple of developers who are discussing plans for us around the Monon and Midland Trace, and we're really focused on connectivity to the trail, so bringing more plazas, parks, walkability, offices, restaurants with patios, living spaces that are facing the trail in order to activate it more effectively. Commercial development, we have a key focus on high tech, specifically sports technology, agribusiness, research and development. We did have Isotopia that came in front of you all last month. It's a great opportunity to really embrace that R&D in the nuclear medicine area, but also looking for other opportunities, especially in the agribusiness and sports tech. We're also looking for opportunities for highest and best use of land, focusing on walkability, making sure that we are using our land effectively, especially in our high impact areas in our central business district and in the Grand Park surrounding areas. Just a brief snapshot of some of the projects that were reviewed here during the first quarter. The two abatements that I have in front of you, JBD Holdings is the first here. This is a real property abatement. This was approved by City Council. It's a standard 10% graduated 10-year abatement with an estimated value of $313,000. It does bring 42 current jobs to be continued with Westfield because they've stayed here. In addition, 4 new jobs with an average wage of $45,000. But I do want to focus on us retaining those 42 jobs with an average wage of a little bit over $86,000 a piece, which is a definite win for the city of Westfield. We also have some spec industrial at Southside Park. This is 2 22,500 square foot new buildings. We do not have spec space in the city of Westfield. We often receive requests for companies that are looking to relocate here, and we really need to have a stock of spec buildings that we can fill. So this helps to fill that need. This is also a standard 10% graduated 10-year abatement with an estimated value of the abatement of $502,000. The third project that I have listed here, Isotopia, has 2 incentives associated with it. The first is a personal property abatement. This is for the manufacturing equipment that they have within their facility. Again, this is a nuclear medicine facility, so their equipment is quite expensive. Personal property investment of about $7 million. They have a total investment of about $17.5 million, which includes build out within their space for clean rooms and other technology required in order to locate their operations here to begin with. So we do have a variable 10% graduated 10-year abatement. There's a chart over on the upper right of the screen that shows the schedule of that abatement, years 1 through 5 being at 100% and then stepping down towards 17 by the end of the 10-year period. Total value of the abatement, $512,000. Again, that is just on the personal property. And then we have an additional grant that we approved a resolution for last month for $925,000, and this is a grant to help support their construction and rehabilitation of the project site. They have 50 new jobs with an average wage of $93,000. This is exactly the type of business that we want to have located here in Westfield, supporting really great jobs and hopefully primed for growth. And that's the end of my presentation for today. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Janelle? All I would say is keep up the good work.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We have no old business. We do have new business. The first item is the Barnes in Thornburg LLP contract. Janelle, if you would cover that for us, please.
Yes, before you here is a proposal and engagement letter from Barnes and Thornburg, which we've requested for them to assist in certain matters that affect the Redevelopment Commission, including advising us on bonds, and then also helping us establish economic development areas. I will be talking with them here over the next couple of weeks to discuss specific economic development areas surrounding the downtown area. So they will represent us. They have a couple of principals within their firm that we'll be working with directly, and then they have notified us in here. I want to point this out, that they have made their retired of council, Bruce Donaldson, available to us for consultation and advice for no charge. So in addition to them helping us with a lot of these legal matters at a fee, Bruce has been available to me and will continue to be available to me for advice and always at no charge, and he's been extremely beneficial as counsel. So
Okay, now
I would
fo-
ask for your approval. We do have a comment added to the signature page on this, which was added after this was distributed to all of you, which does list the hourly fee for their principals and assistants. And this will be attached to the version that you guys are signing here tonight.
Yeah, that was a question we had because it was not in the original document.
Yes.
So that's been added, showing what the rates are for various personnel from their firm. Okay, do we have any questions for Janelle in regards to this agreement? If not, I'm open for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve?
Okay, was that, is that you, Brian?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, Brian Polowski has made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Larry Kemper. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Brian, David, if you'll take the roll, please.
Joe Plinkus,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Brian Tomomichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Yes.
Brian Pulowski.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 5-0. The next item is Resolution 03-2024 in regards to the 2024 lease rental refunding bonds, and I'm going to ask Heather James to elaborate a little bit for details on this again.
Okay, great, thank you. So, just because I don't want to waste anybody's time, was everybody already, did everybody hear my presentation earlier to the Redevelopment Authority? Or would you like me to go over that again?
I think we were all in here, so I think we've heard it, Heather, so that's excellent. Appreciate that. Do we have any
Okay, well-
questions for Heather in regards to this resolution? Okay, if not, I'm open for a motion for approval.
Mr. President, before a motion to approve, if we could have Oscar come up and present from Bondry and tell us a little bit more about the value of this to the city. We understand it's
That's
estimated.
fine. Okay, Oscar, come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. For the record, Oscar Gutierrez, Boundary Consulting, Municipal Advisor to the RDC. The proposed refinancing is exactly that, is refinancing of existing bonds that is going to accomplish two things for the RDC. One, which is a priority of the mayor, he wants to improve the credit rating of the city. During the last Standard & Poor's report, there was a mention that there is a large concentration of debt that is privately held, meaning this debt. So we're going to take it out and publicly sell it. So that's one checkbox. The second checkbox is that it's actually going to save the RDC money. In order for us to typically recommend any refinancing of debt, it has to produce at least 3% savings. We're projecting to be close to double that. Now, again, I feel like I don't want to speculate too much because we're not going to be closing on this until June, but we are projecting anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 of savings annually to the RDC that could be used for whatever this board decides to use it for. And with that, I'll entertain any questions regarding
Okay,
the
any
structure.
questions for Oscar?
Hey, Oscar, are you planning on keeping the term the same, the length?
Let me double check this. I believe so. The final maturity may go out an additional year, but let me. We can't go longer than the statutorily required date. Heather, do you know if we are sticking to the exact schedule? I'm trying to pull it up.
My notes say that the lease will be a maximum term of 18 years.
But the cash flow is on an annual basis, and we're projecting the total savings to be about a little over $1 million, and that is on an annual basis. So the final maturity may be a little bit less than that because of the way that it cash flows, but it should be in line to the existing debt. We typically can't kick it down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. Okay, any other questions for Oscar? If not, open for a motion for approval.
Make a resolution to approve, or make a motion to approve Resolution 03-2024.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Brian. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Tomomichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Resolution 04-2024, a resolution with the City of Westfield Redevelopment Commission regarding Dar El Bell payment in lieu of taxes agreement. I think we've discussed this. Do we have any questions for Janelle or for Ryan in regards to this item?
I'm happy to
Hearing
do a
none?
brief introduction. I know Eric Douthit is also here representing the client if you have any questions as well.
Okay, if not, does anyone have any questions for Eric? Okay, very good. We'll look for a motion for approval. I move that we approve Resolution 04-2024. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ryan Pulowski, second. David, please take the roll, sir.
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Tomomichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 05-2024, resolution of the City of Westfield Redevelopment Commission regarding grant for land acquisition.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution does contemplate a grant from the RDC to the CDC, and I'm going to have Ryan Wilmering talk a little bit more about that process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. As Janelle mentioned, this is a proposal for a grant of funds from the RDC to the Downtown Westfield Community Development Corporation to allow the CDC to acquire property near the intersection of Park and Poplar in two tranches, so two different closings, totaling approximately 8 total acres and a total purchase price for all of the land of roughly $9 million. The reason for suggesting this as a grant to the CDC as opposed to a direct acquisition by the commission is really to kind of streamline the process while still maintaining control over the acquisition and the disposition and use. By having the CDC acquire, the RDC is able to avoid the requirements of obtaining at least two independent appraisals. The time and the money on that, appraisals these days are 6 to 8 weeks usually, and upwards of $10,000 or more per appraisal. This way, with an already negotiated price with the seller, we can avoid having to go through that additional step. And so this resolution would authorize that money from funds that may be available to the RDC to make available to the CDC for the sole purpose of acquiring and holding the property until further direction by this commission.
Okay, any questions for Ryan? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion for approval of Resolution 05-2024?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Brian Pulowski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Larry Kemper. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David, please take the roll.
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Tomomichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Other business, Janelle, anything else, or Ryan, that we have on the agenda?
I have nothing else.
I just want everybody to know, historically, we have now held the longest ever RDC meeting in the history of the Westfield RDC, which is great because that means you guys are doing a lot of good things, so we enjoy that part of it. 7-minute meetings, I think, are a thing of the past. So again, motion for, we have to execute some documents, but we can do that after we officially adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
So everybody stick around, we've got stuff to sign, I believe. So motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Tom, Michael, I'll second that motion. All in favor, please signify saying aye. David?
Joe Plankus,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Brian Tomomichael,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulaski.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, and
Yes.
Joe, are you still there?